But it's this Columbia I'm quite interested in today. As I say, I've done a lot of work on that HMV, and the motor runs not very well, and I wonder what this one runs like. So it's upside down now. It's got a fibre bottom held in by one screw, and I removed that earlier, and it's dried and warped, so it won't go back, but it doesn't matter. And so now we see the actual innards. Let's move in. Okay, so there's the motor. That's what we're particularly interested in, so we'll just zoom out and then see what else we have. And of course you don't want to go messing around in anything like this, which was made in the 30s, which has got 240 volts AC in it. It's very dangerous, so don't do it if you're not experienced in it. And one of the reasons for that, I already actually started to work on this before thinking actually it would be a good idea to video it. So I had already removed the surviving mains wire, and you will see why these things are potentially very dangerous. Okay, the previous owner had cut off the lead, so we've got to get inside to have a look at it, and this is the mains wire, which, as you can see, the insulation is completely perished. We've got bare wire there, and the rest of the insulation is parlous in the extreme. So, you know, if you switched it on, it could be quite dicey, so don't. The mains lead entered here and ran down to this three-way clamp. It then went via a switch here into the tag strip, and the other end of the tag strip, the other end of the winding, or the gubbins, goes back out to the mains. So we just abandoned the use of the switch. These two wires are earth wires. So let's get the turntable off. It's held in place by a circlip. The one on this was missing, but the HMV one you saw before that had the clip, which you simply pull off like that, and you can then remove the turntable. And here at the back is a label which will tell you that you can run it on 100 to 130 volts or 200 to 250 volts, AC only of course, by interchanging those little jump leads, which you get at by removing the label. And here is the tags underneath, and you can see it is properly connected for running on 240 volts, although the card there says it shows wires going to the outer terminals. Well, actually they do, but they're on the other side of the tag strip, so that label is slightly misleading, but it is okay. I mean, it's okay as it is. Okay, now we've got a close-up of the motor, and the thing that puzzles us is, you know, what are all these wires? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lots and lots of wires. Why? And these are all rubber, and amazingly, as it was the case on the HMV, they're all still in very, very good condition since 1935 or something like that. Well, the reason there are so many wires is partly, of course, because we can run it on, you know, 120 volts AC and 240 or whatever. Well, that will require more wires, but not as many as this. And so I think the answer really is that this motor, which is why I'm interested in it, is an eddy current motor. And in this box here, I think are 1 or 2 paper, or perhaps even 3 or 4 paper capacitors, which shift the phase of the AC into this winding here, and so propelling the armature round. But let's have a look inside. Now we need to just unscrew these 3 screws here, and that one's quite loose. This one is also loose. This one might give us a bit of trouble because it's rusty. No, it's fine, good. And if we remove the bottom plate of the motor, we shall to see. Now let's have get a better camera angle. Okay, it's all quite straightforward. These are the capacitors in here, and the juice is fed into this winding. There's laminations, and inside there is a solid rotor. There's a bearing for it at one end and also one at the other, and it's spring loaded, so there's a nice end float, and the worm drive from the core of the motor drives this, which is the main spindle. And I'm going to take this out because it's quite interesting. Here we are back on top, and to release the main spindle all I have to do is undo this collar, like that, and down she goes. So all we have to do now is to remove the main spindle, and we'll have a closer look at this. It's quite interesting. Okay, here's the main shaft, and it's in 4 parts. The shaft itself, and then we have 2 metal pressings. This one here, which is quite deep, and then on the other side another one pressed out, which is shallower, and they're spot welded together, you see, forming and enclosing this central gear, angle cut gear, which is actually non-metallic. It's actually a kind of fibre or early phenolic resin or paxilin or something like that. So the worm doesn't run on metal, it runs on this soft material. And of course that means that if anything goes wrong it can wear, but I can see by looking at it that this is in very good shape. So it ought to work all right, assuming of course that the rotor goes round. Well, we're going to we need to see if this rotor will actually go round, and to do that we need to connect up the main supply. Remember we've forgotten about the switch. We're not interested in that. The mains goes to the outer 2 of these tags. So I've got a piece of wire. Let's get soldering. So we first need to remove the old wires. There's no polarity of course here because it's AC, and we can put the iron, which I say is not really up to this job. And with this solder that's been around for so long, it actually helps to put a bit of new solder and get some of the flux going into these old joints, which can sort of release it like that. Now for the other one. And lo, there we are. Scene 23. Now we just need to repeat the exercise, and we've got our new wire here already tinned, so we will melt this joint here. I'm probably working in the light, working in front of the camera. Try that, and that's okay. And then the other one on here, I'm trying to keep out of the way. It might as well put it on like that. Okay. Give it a chance to set, and that looks good. So what's next? Well, we're ready for our trial. I've plugged in the new white lead, but I've switched off the supply some distance away, and that is why my voice will recede while I go actually into the kitchen and switch on from in there, so that if the paper capacitors explode, I shall have a double glazed window in between me and... Aha! It's going. Yes, look. It's working. You can hear it. A pleasant humming sound. Excellent. So all we need to do now is to replace the main drive shaft. While we have it out, there's the little ball bearing on the end which rests on the plate, you know. So we'll pop that back in there, and then replace the bottom plate. Oops. And there we are. Now to turn it over, and we can mustn't forget to replace the collar around the spindle, and there is actually an indentation on the spindle down here that shows you where it goes, so we must get that in the right place, which is about there. I have of course unplugged the mains lead, Yes, and success has attended our efforts. Rather noisy. Oh, I think we better, hang on, I shouldn't have done that. We better get the brake adjusted first. Well, it's been running now for about half an hour, let it warm up. And yes, it smells, got a nice, interesting vintage smell. But what speed's it going at? It's only fair to let these things warm up, and I did lubricate underneath. Oh, I put a light on. And I'm sorry to say that although it's well warmed up, it's only doing about 75 or 76. I can see the bars on this stroboscope stepping back quite quickly. So I think the problem with it is that the capacitors, which are supposed to send the in phase changing round to drive the armature, they're just not up to it anymore after what, 75 years. I mean, you could, if you wanted to, try and, well, it's not a 1902 Columbia, single-sided Columbia. It's not quite what EMI had in mind when they made these things, but you'll see that if you put it on, the speed, actually it's holding up better than it was. After letting it warm up, I should think it's down to about 74 now. And of course this thing probably should be 80. But you know, this thing of course has no speed control. There is no variable speed on this machine. It was designed to run at 78. But anyway, it's been an interesting exercise. And of course, another thing about this, it's not totally unfair to put this heavy pickup on, because the rubber suspension inside it will have become rock hard, so the drag is will be much more than usual. You know, these pickups need complete rebuilding if you want to use them again, which of course you can, and they probably need remagnetising and things like that. So an interesting exercise, I think, but I don't think it's going to get much use.